Hello, future doctors. Welcome to Synapse, your ultimate NEET prep platform. Today, we are diving into a fascinating topic from Class 11 Biology, breathing and exchange of gases, specifically focusing on long-distance transport. Have you ever wondered how the oxygen you breathe reaches your toes, or how carbon dioxide from your brain gets back to your lungs? That's long-distance transport. We'll explore this journey from easy basics to competitive level insights. Get ready for an exciting learning adventure. Let's start our journey with the fundamentals. What exactly is long-distance transport, and why is it so vital for life? Our bodies are complex machines, with cells everywhere needing a constant supply of oxygen to produce energy and simultaneously removing waste carbon dioxide. The lungs, where fresh oxygen enters and CO2 leaves, are far from most of these cells. Imagine a factory needing raw materials from a distant supplier. You need a transport system. This is precisely why long-distance transport is crucial, to bridge the gap between where gases are acquired and where they are needed or expelled. Without it, our cells would starve for oxygen and be poisoned by CO2. So, what's this amazing transport system? It's our blood. Blood acts like a super-efficient highway network, circulating throughout the body, connecting every single cell to the lungs. For oxygen, the main carrier is a special protein called hemoglobin, found in red blood cells. It's like a tiny oxygen taxi, picking up oxygen in the lungs and dropping it off at the tissues. Carbon dioxide, our waste product, also hitches a ride in the blood, primarily as bicarbonate, making its way back to the lungs for exhale. Think of it, oxygen from your breath, traveling all the way to your muscles, and CO2 from your muscles, traveling back to your lungs, all thanks to this incredible system. Time to check your understanding with these quick practice questions. Take a moment to think about your answers. Question 1. What is the primary medium for long-distance transport of respiratory gases in humans? Question 2. Which protein is responsible for transporting most of the oxygen in the blood? And question 3. Name one way carbon dioxide is transported in the blood. Good luck! Now that we have the basics down, let's go a bit deeper. We'll explore the intricate details of how oxygen and carbon dioxide are carried throughout the body. The entire process of long-distance gas transport relies on our amazing circulatory system. It's like a sophisticated network of highways, with the heart as the central pump, propelling blood through arteries, veins, and tiny capillaries. This closed system ensures that blood continuously flows, delivering oxygen to every cell and picking up carbon dioxide. Oxygen, our vital fuel, primarily binds to hemoglobin, a red, iron-containing protein within red blood cells. Each hemoglobin molecule is a supercarrier, capable of binding up to 4 oxygen molecules, forming what we call oxyhemoglobin. This binding is reversible, meaning oxygen can be picked up and dropped off as needed. The magic of oxygen binding to hemoglobin depends on the partial pressure of oxygen. In the lungs, where oxygen pressure is high, hemoglobin readily picks up oxygen. But in the tissues, where oxygen pressure is low due to cellular consumption, hemoglobin releases its oxygen. Carbon dioxide, on the other hand, takes a more complex journey. A small percentage simply dissolves in the plasma. Another portion binds directly to hemoglobin, forming carbaminohemoglobin. However, the majority, a whopping 70%, is transported as bicarbonate ions. Inside red blood cells, CO2 reacts with water, catalyzed by an enzyme called carbonic anhydrase, to form carbonic acid, which then quickly dissociates into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. These bicarbonate ions then move out of the red blood cells into the plasma for transport. The exchange of both oxygen and carbon dioxide at the lungs and tissues is entirely driven by differences in their partial pressures. Oxygen always moves from an area of higher partial pressure to lower partial pressure from the alveoli into the blood, and then from the blood into the tissues. Conversely, carbon dioxide moves from higher partial pressure in the tissues into the blood, and then from the blood into the alveoli to be exhaled. This continuous gradient ensures efficient loading and unloading of gases, making long-distance transport possible and effective. Alright, let's test your knowledge on these medium-level concepts. Take a moment to formulate your answers. Question 1. Describe the primary function of the circulatory system in relation to gas transport. Question 2. How many oxygen molecules can a single hemoglobin molecule carry? Question 3. What enzyme facilitates the formation of carbonic acid from CO2 and water in red blood cells? Question 4. List the 3 main forms in which carbon dioxide is transported in the blood. And finally, question 5. Explain how partial pressure gradients drive the exchange of gases in the lungs and tissues. Good luck! Ready to elevate your understanding? We are now moving into the hard level, exploring complex mechanisms and their physiological significance. At this level, we delve into the oxygen-hemoglobin dissociation curve, a crucial concept. This S-shaped curve illustrates how hemoglobin's saturation with oxygen changes with varying partial pressures of oxygen. Its sigmoidal shape indicates cooperative binding. Once one oxygen binds, it's easier for subsequent ones to bind. Crucially, factors like increased carbon dioxide, decreased pH, higher temperature, and increased 2,3-BPG levels shift this curve to the right. This right shift is known as the Bohr effect, and it's vital because it means hemoglobin releases oxygen more readily to active tissues that are producing more CO2 and heat, and have a lower pH. It's the body's intelligent way of prioritizing oxygen delivery where it's most needed. Let's detail carbon dioxide transport further. When CO2 enters red blood cells from tissues, the enzyme carbonic anhydrase rapidly converts it into carbonic acid, which then dissociates into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. To maintain electrical balance, as bicarbonate ions move out into the plasma for transport, chloride ions move into the red blood cells. This is the famous chloride shift or hamburger phenomenon. The hydrogen ions produced are buffered by hemoglobin itself, preventing drastic changes in blood pH. Another key concept is the Haldane effect. The binding of oxygen to hemoglobin reduces its affinity for carbon dioxide and hydrogen ions. This promotes the release of CO2 in the lungs where oxygen is abundant, and conversely, enhances CO2 uptake in tissues where oxygen is scarce. Bohr and Haldane effects work in tandem, optimizing both oxygen delivery and carbon dioxide removal. Efficient long-distance transport isn't just about molecular interactions, it's also about precise regulation. Our breathing rate and depth are meticulously controlled by the respiratory rhythm center in the medulla oblongata of the brain. This center constantly monitors blood gas levels through chemoreceptors. Central chemoreceptors in the medulla are highly sensitive to changes in CO2 and pH, while peripheral chemoreceptors in the carotid and aortic bodies monitor O2 CO2 and pH. An increase in CO2 or H+ ions is the strongest stimulus, triggering an increased breathing rate to expel excess CO2 and restore pH balance. This neural and chemical regulation ensures that gas exchange and transport are always finely tuned to meet the body's metabolic demands, maintaining homeostasis and enabling life itself. It's time for some challenging questions to solidify your understanding of these advanced concepts. Take your time to formulate comprehensive answers. Question 1. Explain the Bohr effect and its physiological significance in gas transport. Question 2. Describe the oxygen-hemoglobin dissociation curve and the factors that can shift it to the right. Question 3. What is the chloride shift, and why is it important for carbon dioxide transport? Question 4. How does the Haldane effect facilitate carbon dioxide transport in the blood? Question 5. Identify the primary chemical stimuli that regulate the respiratory rhythm. Question 6. In which part of the brain is the respiratory rhythm center located? And question 7. List 3 factors that contribute to the efficiency of gas exchange at the respiratory membrane. All the best. Welcome to the hardest level, where we'll delve into the cutting-edge and competitive aspects of long-distance gas transport. Prepare to challenge your limits and think like a true biologist. Beyond human hemoglobin, the biological world showcases diverse solutions for gas transport. Many arthropods and mollusks, for instance, utilize hemocyanin, a copper-containing pigment that turns blue when oxygenated. While its oxygen-carrying capacity might be less than hemoglobin, hemocyanin is remarkably effective in colder, oxygen-poor aquatic environments. This comparative physiology highlights the evolutionary ingenuity in adapting transport systems to specific environmental pressures. On the flip side, impairments in gas transport can be life-threatening. Anemia, a reduced red blood cell or hemoglobin count, directly lowers oxygen-carrying capacity. Carbon monoxide poisoning is particularly insidious because co-binds to hemoglobin with an affinity 200 to 250 times greater than oxygen, forming stable carboxyhemoglobin, effectively suffocating cells even with adequate ambient oxygen. Methemoglobinemia, where iron in hemoglobin is oxidized, also renders hemoglobin incapable of oxygen binding. These conditions underscore the critical, delicate balance required for efficient gas transport. Consider the fascinating adaptations for high-altitude living. At lower atmospheric pressures, the partial pressure of oxygen is significantly reduced, leading to hypoxia. The human body, however, has evolved remarkable acclimatization mechanisms. Over time, the kidneys release more erythropoietin, stimulating bone marrow to produce additional red blood cells, thus increasing the blood's oxygen-carrying capacity. There's also an increase in 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate, or 2,3-BPG, within red blood cells, which shifts the oxygen dissociation curve to the right, promoting greater oxygen release to tissues. Furthermore, chronic hypoxia leads to increased ventilation rates and even angiogenesis, the formation of new capillaries to improve oxygen diffusion pathways. These intricate responses showcase the body's sophisticated engineering to maintain oxygen homeostasis under challenging environmental conditions. From an engineering perspective, the human circulatory system is a masterpiece of fluid dynamics and network design. The heart functions as an incredibly efficient, self-regulating pump, ensuring unidirectional blood flow. The arterial and venous systems are meticulously branched, optimizing flow resistance and distributing blood effectively, while the extensive capillary beds maximize the surface area for gas exchange, minimizing diffusion distances. Fick's law of diffusion quantifies this efficiency. The rate of diffusion is directly proportional to the surface area and the partial pressure gradient, and inversely proportional to the membrane thickness. Pathologies like emphysema reduce surface area, while pulmonary fibrosis increases membrane thickness, both severely limiting gas exchange. The rapid yet controlled blood flow ensures that blood spends just enough time at the exchange surfaces for optimal diffusion without becoming saturated too quickly. The entire system operates under robust feedback control, with neural and hormonal mechanisms continuously adjusting cardiac output and respiratory rate to match metabolic demand, a testament to its unparalleled efficiency in long-distance transport. The integrated understanding of long-distance gas transport is critical for competitive exams. It bridges molecular biology, physiology, and even environmental adaptations. From the precise molecular dance of hemoglobin with oxygen and carbon dioxide, governed by allosteric effects like Bohr and Haldane, to the macroscopic regulation by the respiratory centers and chemoreceptors, every component plays a vital role. The ability to analyze how various factors pH, temperature, BPG, altitude, or disease states impact the oxygen dissociation curve and overall gas exchange is paramount. This deep dive into the why and how of gas transport not only prepares you for NEET but also lays a strong foundation for future medical studies, where understanding these homeostatic mechanisms is fundamental to diagnosing and treating a myriad of conditions. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. Alright, future medical professionals, here are your first 5 challenging questions for the hardest level. Question 1. Compare and contrast hemoglobin and hemocyanin in terms of their metal content and color when oxygenated. Question 2. Explain why carbon monoxide is a dangerous gas in the context of oxygen transport, referencing its affinity for hemoglobin. Question 3. Describe 3 physiological adaptations that occur in humans during long-term acclimatization to high altitudes. Question 4. How does an increase in 2,3-BPG concentration benefit individuals living at high altitudes? And question 5. Apply Fick's law of diffusion to explain how pulmonary fibrosis might impair long-distance oxygen transport. Take your time, these require comprehensive answers. And here are your final 5 questions for this hardest level, pushing your understanding even further. Question 6. Discuss the role of erythropoietin in high-altitude acclimatization. Question 7. Differentiate between hypercapnia and hypocapnia and their potential effects on respiratory regulation. Question 8. How does the engineering design of the capillary beds contribute to the efficiency of gas exchange? Question 9. Beyond oxygen and carbon dioxide, name one other gas that is transported by blood and briefly state its function. And finally, question 10. Propose a scenario where a defect in carbonic anhydrase could significantly impair both oxygen and carbon dioxide long-distance transport. Good luck, you've got this. And that wraps up our deep dive into long-distance transport. We've journeyed from basic concepts to advanced physiological mechanisms, covering everything you need for your NEET exam and beyond. Remember, understanding these complex systems is key to mastering biology. For more such comprehensive lessons, practice questions, and expert guidance, visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content. Your success is our mission. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep aiming for those NEET dreams.